My name is Muhammad Alis Ahmad bin Al-Fajl and my matric number is 01DKB21F1042.
My name is Muhammad Alif Najmi bin Zulkifli and my matric number is 01DKB21F1044. Case: HSBC pay $1.9 billion US fine in money laundering case. This case involved the bank's alleged involvement in laundering money for drug cartels and other criminal organizations through its operations in Mexico and elsewhere. In 2008, the U.S. government launched an investigation into HSBC's Mexican operations for possible money laundering activities, and in 2010, HSBC was warned by regulators about deficiencies in its anti-money laundering controls and was ordered to take remedial action.
In July 2012, a U.S. Senate report accused HSBC of allowing Mexican drug cartels to launder billions of dollars through its operations in Mexico. The report also alleged that the bank had conducted business with countries subject to U.S. sanctions, such as Iran. Later that same year, in December 2012, HSBC reached a $1.9 billion settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, and other U.S. regulators over allegations of money laundering. The settlement included a deferred prosecution agreement, under which HSBC agreed to improve its anti-money laundering controls and submit to independent monitoring. The scandal led to the resignation of HSBC's head of compliance and the appointment of new senior executives tasked with improving the bank's anti-money laundering practices. HSBC also agreed to a deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice, which required the bank to strengthen its anti-money laundering controls and pay the $1.92 billion fine.
The HSBC case highlights the importance of the banker-customer relationship and the obligations that banks have to their customers to maintain the integrity of the financial system. Banks have a duty to implement robust anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing measures to prevent the use of their services for criminal activities. This duty includes the obligation to identify and verify the identities of customers, monitor transactions, and report suspicious activity to the relevant authorities.
In the HSBC case, the bank failed to fulfill these obligations and allowed its services to be used by Mexican drug cartels and other criminal entities. This failure had severe consequences for the bank's customers, who were exposed to the risks of financial crime and reputational damage. The case underscores the need for banks to prioritize compliance and risk management in their operations and to develop strong relationships with their customers based on transparency and trust. Banks must also maintain open communication channels with their customers and provide them with the necessary tools and information to understand their obligations under anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regulations.
HSBC agreed to pay a $1.92 billion fine, the largest penalty ever imposed on a bank, and to implement a series of reforms to improve its anti-money laundering and sanctions compliance programs. The court held that HSBC had violated U.S. laws and regulations and that the bank's conduct posed a significant threat to the integrity of the financial system. The court also acknowledged that the DPA was an appropriate and effective means of addressing the bank's misconduct and promoting compliance with the law. Money laundering is the process of making illegally obtained funds, such as those from criminal activities, appear to have come from a legitimate source. It involves the conversion of the dirty money into clean money, which can then be used without raising suspicion. The HSBC case is connected to money laundering because the bank was accused of helping to launder money for drug cartels and other illegal entities. According to the allegations, HSBC allowed billions of dollars in transactions from countries such as Mexico, Iran, and Syria to pass through its U.S. operations without adequate safeguards against money laundering. Anti-money laundering and sanctions compliance programs. The case highlights the potential consequences of a failure to comply with these regulations, both for banks themselves and for their customers and the wider financial system. One of the key issues in the case was HSBC's weak compliance culture, which prioritized profits over compliance with anti-money laundering and sanctions regulations. This culture allowed the bank to facilitate illicit activities, including money laundering by Mexican drug cartels and transactions with countries subject to U.S. sanctions. From an evaluation standpoint, the HSBC case demonstrates the need for banks to prioritize compliance and risk management in their operations, and to foster a culture of transparency and trust with their customers. Banks must also invest in robust anti-money laundering and sanctions compliance programs, including implementing strong Know Your Customer procedures and monitoring transactions for suspicious activity. Overall, the HSBC case serves as a warning to banks that regulatory compliance is not optional, and that a failure to comply with anti-money laundering and sanctions regulations can have severe consequences. It also underscores the importance of effective regulatory oversight and maintaining the integrity of the financial system and preventing financial crime. Recommendation: in compliance and risk management processes, banks should implement strong compliance and risk management processes to prevent money laundering, terrorism financing, and other illegal activities. This includes investing in advanced technology systems and compliance staff to monitor and detect suspicious transactions. Improve due diligence processes. Banks should conduct thorough due diligence on all their clients and counterparties to ensure that they are not involved in illegal activities or sanctioned entities. 3. Train employees. Banks should provide regular training to their employees on anti-money laundering laws and regulations, sanctions compliance, and other relevant topics. 4. Enhance transparency. Banks should increase transparency in their operations and reporting, including disclosing information on their environmental, social, and governance (ESG) practices. 5. Foster a culture of ethical behavior. Banks should establish a culture of ethical behavior and compliance by promoting transparency, accountability, and integrity throughout their organization. Thank you.